The sky over the Karen capital shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting the twin suns that hung above the city. The crystal domes of the palace sparkled in every color imaginable, a testament to centuries of alien grandeur. From a distance it looked peaceful, almost serene, but inside the throne hall tension clung to the air like smoke. The air itself seemed to quiver with the anticipation of something no one in the Dominion had seen before. The princess returned victorious. Her campaign against the border raiders had been brutal, and she carried the scars to prove it. Her armor, sleek and polished, gleamed under the light of the hall, but she did not return alone. Behind her, struggling against the chains that bound him, was a human, a Terran, small and fragile compared to the Karen warriors surrounding him. Yet even battered and bruised, his posture refused to bow. His dark eyes met the eyes of every noble, every soldier, and the queen herself, without a hint of fear. The whispers began almost immediately. A human? In the palace? Why bring a beast here? Is she mad to parade a creature from a lesser species? The princess ignored them all. She strode forward with confidence that only came from years of battle experience. She placed herself between the human and the queen's throne, raising her chin in defiance. "He saved my life," she said. Her voice echoed across the hall. "He bled for me. Without him, I would not have returned to you alive." The court fell silent. Nobles and generals exchanged incredulous glances. No human had ever ventured this far, let alone proven themselves in combat alongside Karen warriors. They were supposed to be fragile, incapable, easily broken, and yet the princess's words carried weight. The queen descended from her throne, each step heavy with authority. Her presence filled the hall and the whispers died instantly. She was unlike any Karen had ever seen, taller, sharper, and with eyes that burned like molten gold. The human met her gaze without flinching. Most beings would have knelt instantly before the queen, but not this one. "You bring a beast into my court," the queen said, her voice low but cutting, "and call it a savior?" The princess did not falter. "He is no beast," she replied. "He is brave, loyal, and strong. I owe him my life. That is why he is here." The queen's golden eyes narrowed. She studied the human with intensity, as if searching for something hidden beneath his scarred face and weathered armor. For a long moment she said nothing. Then almost imperceptibly she raised her hand and pointed at him. "My warrior," she said. The hall erupted into chaos. Gasps, murmurs, and shocked exclamations filled the space. Nobles whispered about madness. Generals gritted their teeth, and the princess blinked in disbelief. The human Captain Elias Rourke looked at her, stunned, as if only now realizing the weight of the queen's words. "My warrior?" he echoed, his voice rough from days of marching and battle. He looked around, unsure if this was some kind of trap. The queen's expression was unreadable, a mask of authority and mystery. "Yes," she said simply. "You are my warrior. You fight not only for her but for all of us." The human struggled against his chains. "I fight for survival," he said cautiously. "I am just a soldier. I don't understand this." The queen did not smile. "That is what makes you fit. You fight for reasons beyond yourself. That is what we have forgotten." The princess stepped forward, placing a hand on Elias's shoulder. "Mother, please. He is not from our world. He doesn't understand our ways. He can't—" The queen interrupted her, her voice like steel. "Do not speak of understanding. Speak only of what is true. The human fought when it mattered. That is enough." The generals began murmuring, some in outrage, some in curiosity. A few of them even looked at Elias with grudging respect. He had fought alongside the princess, saving her from certain death, and perhaps there was something in his human instinct that could not be ignored. For the next several hours, the queen tested him. She ordered him to demonstrate his combat skills, his strategy, his endurance. Elias performed every task with skill, improvisation, and courage. He was human, chaotic, unpredictable. Yet he adapted in ways that even the Karen generals could not. When ordered to defend against simulated attacks, he anticipated moves that no one had taught him, using speed and cleverness that were almost reckless. The princess watched with a mixture of awe and relief. She knew the human had potential, but she had not realized the extent of it. The queen, silent for most of the demonstration, nodded once, just once, mine, and the hall fell silent again. "My warrior," she said, and with that simple declaration, the course of the Dominion shifted. The human was no longer a prisoner, a curiosity, or a mere guest. He had become a symbol, a weapon, and a reminder that even the smallest, weakest-looking beings could possess unmatched strength. That night, the princess walked beside Elias through the palace gardens, the twin moons reflecting off the pools of water. He was quiet, still processing the shock of his new status. "You're my warrior," the queen had said. The words echoed in his mind. Could a human, a Terran, truly hold such a title among an alien empire? "You should rest," the princess said gently. "They will come for you tomorrow. All eyes will be on you. The queen has made her choice, but the court may resist." "I've faced worse," Elias replied, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "But never anything like this." The princess laughed softly, a sound that mingled with the rustle of the alien trees. "You'll learn quickly, or you'll die. Either way, everyone will remember you." The first light of the twin suns cut across the gardens, highlighting the humans' determined expression. For the first time in generations, the Karen looked at one of their own, and at an outsider, and wondered if the future might belong not to power, but to courage, to loyalty, and to heart. And as the city stirred awake, unaware of the storm of politics, prejudice, and war that would come, Elias Rourke prepared himself. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a symbol. He was a warrior. And the Dominion had only just begun to understand what that meant. The whispers in the court would not die. Some would call him a freak, some a heretic, but others would look at him and see hope. The Queen's choice had been made. Now it was time to see what that choice would demand. And somewhere in the shadows of the throne hall, enemies of the Dominion watched with growing concern. If a single human could earn the title of My Warrior, what else might be possible? What forces might rise to challenge them? Elias did not know the answers yet, but he would face whatever came with his fists, his mind, and his courage. The night ended with the stars above the palace burning brighter than ever, as if the universe itself had turned its gaze toward this tiny human who dared to stand among giants. And somewhere, deep in her throne, the queen smiled ever so slightly. She had chosen correctly. The story had only begun. The sun rose over the crystal towers of the Karen capital, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. The twin suns reflected off the spires, making the city seem alive, pulsing with light. But beneath the beauty, tension simmered. The court had not forgotten the queen's declaration, nor the human she had claimed as My Warrior. The whispers from the previous day had grown louder overnight, spreading among nobles, generals, and even common citizens. Some called him a miracle, others a mistake. Yet no one could deny the truth in his actions. Elias Rourke awoke early, the memory of the queen's words still echoing in his mind. He was no longer a prisoner, nor merely a soldier. He had been given a title that carried immense responsibility, even if he didn't fully understand it yet. The chains of silver light had been removed, replaced by armor forged from Karen steel, dark as obsidian and etched with golden insignias. It was heavy, restrictive, and unfamiliar, but it fit him in a way he did not expect. The princess found him training in the courtyard, moving through drills with fluid precision. Even though the techniques were alien to him, Elias adapted quickly. Where a Karen might rely solely on strength or honed instinct, he combined their methods with human unpredictability, catching even the instructors off guard. "You are improving faster than I imagined," the princess said, leaning against a carved pillar. "I feared you would struggle. But you're remarkable." Elias paused, wiping sweat from his brow. "I don't know if I'm remarkable. I'm just trying not to die." He gave her a small grin. "Though I suppose in your world that counts as skill." She laughed softly. "Skill, yes. Courage, certainly. But there's something else. Something your kind has. Humans fight for more than survival. You fight for others. That is why the queen chose you." The words sank in. Elias looked down at his hands, scarred and calloused, and wondered if he had really been chosen for something greater than himself. It was hard to imagine being anyone's champion, let alone an alien queen's. Before he could dwell on it, a horn sounded from the palace gates. The city's peace shattered instantly. A fleet of ships, black and jagged, descended through the sky like swarming hornets. They were the Vesh, a ruthless empire from the neighboring star systems. Their ships bristled with weapons, and their soldiers were trained killers. The Karen had long expected a confrontation, but no one had predicted it would come so soon, so suddenly. The queen appeared on the high balcony above the throne hall, her golden eyes scanning the invading fleet. "The Vesh have come," she announced, her voice carrying across the city. "They seek to burn our world, enslave our people, and claim our territories. Today we do not fight for power nor for glory. We fight for survival." Elias felt the weight of her gaze. He was expected to lead, to inspire, to fight, and though fear tickled at the edges of his mind, he clenched his fists and stepped forward. The princess joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You can do this," she said quietly. "Trust yourself. Trust what you know. The Karen will follow you if you show them courage." The queen nodded to the generals. "Prepare the defenses, and ensure the human leads the vanguard. My warrior will show us the path." For the first time in his life, Elias understood the full scale of his situation. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a symbol, yet of hope, of unity, of defiance. If he faltered, countless lives could be lost. The battle began in the skies above the capital. Karen fighters launched from the towers, weaving through the black Vesh ships with precise movements honed over generations. Elias, clad in armor and with a small squad of elite Karen warriors, led the first charge. The Vesh underestimated him. They had expected fear, hesitation, and chaos. Instead, they found a human at the front, dodging energy blasts with impossible timing, striking at critical points with unmatched efficiency. His improvisation and sheer willpower disrupted the Vesh formations, buying the Karen fighters openings they had never seen before. On the ground, the battle was no less fierce. Vesh soldiers stormed the palace gates and Elias fought alongside the princess, their movements in perfect synchronization. He anticipated her strategies, adjusted his attacks to complement her maneuvers, and in return, she adapted to his unpredictability. Together they became a force neither side could fully comprehend. Hours passed and the tide began to turn. Where the Vesh had expected an easy victory, they faced relentless resistance. Human courage combined with Karen skill became a force the invaders could not match. Elias inspired not only the soldiers but the citizens as well. Even those who had doubted him cheered as he led the charge, proving that a single human could change the course of a battle. In the final moments of the confrontation, Elias faced the Vesh commander, a towering figure clad in black armor, eyes glowing red. The commander laughed, confident that no human could match his power. Elias did not speak. He ran, dodged, and struck with precision. Every move was calculated, every decision a gamble that paid off. When the commander fell, defeated, the remaining Vesh forces fled. The city erupted in celebration. Citizens poured into the streets, cheering for the warriors who had saved their world. For the first time in generations, the Karen felt true hope, not born from power or fear, but from courage, unity, and the bravery of one human who had refused to back down. The queen stood atop the balcony, golden eyes shining. She looked at Elias and nodded. "You have proven yourself," she said. "Not only to me, but to all of us. You are more than a soldier. You are my warrior." The princess approached, pride shining in her eyes. "I should have known," she said softly. "Humans, they fight differently. They fight for what matters, not for what they are told. That is why you are strong. That is why the queen chose correctly." Elias, exhausted but exhilarated, smiled faintly. "I didn't do it alone," he said. "You all fought too. We all fought. Maybe that's what being a warrior really means. Not strength alone, but standing together no matter who you are." The queen inclined her head. "Indeed, today you have reminded us of what is possible. Even a species considered weak can inspire greatness. Even one person can change the fate of a world." In the days that followed, the Dominion rebuilt. The Karen soldiers trained alongside Elias, learning not just combat, but courage, adaptability, and the human spirit. Where once the court had doubted him, now they looked upon him with respect. Even those who had whispered about mistakes and madness now bowed in admiration. The princess stayed by his side, learning from him as he learned from her. Together they forged a new future, one where the Karen would not only rely on strength and tradition, but also on ingenuity, bravery, and compassion. One night, as the twin moons rose over the palace, Elias stood on the balcony alongside the queen and the princess. The city glowed beneath them, alive with hope and renewal. The queen placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch gentle but commanding. "You are my warrior," she said once more. "Not because of your species, not because of your strength, but because of your heart. That is what I honor. That is what the Dominion will remember." Elias looked at the city, at the people who had cheered for him, at the princess who had believed in him, and he felt a deep sense of purpose. For the first time in his life, he truly understood what it meant to be a warrior, to fight for others, to inspire, and to rise beyond expectation. The stars above the palace twinkled, reflecting the light of the twin moons. The universe had tested him, pushed him to the edge, and Elias had endured. He had become more than a soldier, more than a visitor to an alien world. He had become a symbol of courage, a bridge between species, and a reminder that even one person could change everything. The future was uncertain. Other enemies would come. Challenges would arise. But Elias Rourke, human and warrior, would face them all. With the princess at his side and the queen's faith behind him, he knew that no force in the galaxy could break their unity, their hope, or their courage. And as the wind swept across the crystal towers, carrying the promise of new beginnings, Elias smiled. He had been chosen. He had fought, and the Dominion would never forget the human who became their warrior.